1980s West Virginia was a much different place. There was this renewed sense of hope and optimism as businesses and new residents rushed in to take advantage of the state's unique affordability and natural beauty, pushing West Virginia to almost 2 million residents for just the second time since it split from the other Virginia back in 1863. But West Virginia's second chance, much like the first, which peaked in 1950 before turning sour, as the state's otherwise dire misfortunes rebounded when nationwide energy shortages and runaway inflation made West Virginia look like a legitimate bargain, as hundreds of thousands of Americans flocked there, breaking 1.9 million residents in 1981, just a fall for every decade ever since. The coal industry in West Virginia, much like a conductor in an orchestra, has long been the bellwether for where the state is headed. That was true for West Virginia's first boom in the early 20th century, its crash into the 50s, its comeback through the 70s, and the last 42 years, which have been notably difficult, defined by a steep decline in livability, opportunity, and demographics. The rise of coal country. Mountainous little West Virginia has more forests and farmland than any other U.S. state, with forest and farmland making up nearly 99% of its landmass, with about 75% of Appalachian West Virginia sitting between the Cumberland and Allegheny Plateau. That kind of geography poses major challenges for urban development and industrial growth, severely limiting West Virginia's prospects, as construction is expensive and businesses tend to have better options, leading to a state filled with small, disconnected communities and wide open spaces, while neighboring states benefit from lucrative enterprise and concentrated population centers. That's why coal became so essential there. It provided a pathway to success and stability, especially in those early years that otherwise wouldn't have existed, as America's golden age of opportunity depended on West Virginia coal, building an entire generation of U.S. wealth off the backs of West Virginia coal miners, while coal became the backbone of West Virginia's economy and culture. But the good times never last, and West Virginia's rise as a powerhouse for coal has haunted it ever since. A fractured coal industry. Few U.S. states have ever been so dependent on a single industry where that industry came to define the state. Perhaps oil in Texas, tech in California, or finance in New York. So despite West Virginia having just 10,219 underground mining jobs today, the industry is deeply rooted, remaining top of mind to this day, even with coal making up less than 2% of statewide employment. Despite its limited workforce and a 38% drop in production from 2008 to 2016, coal's share of the West Virginia economy far exceeds its employment, with $3.8 billion in 2022 outputs, as modern machinery and automation have actually improved profitability for the owner class, despite pushing workers almost completely off the table they helped build, giving coal an oversized influence on West Virginia with far more impact on policy and discourse than what it's earned. A state of decline. The current outlook for West Virginia's future is truly grim. That can be seen from the state's meager economics and dwindling population, not just having only the nation's 39th ranked population and 42nd ranked economy, but with both factors in consistent decline. Even West Virginia's slightly growing GSP and fairly stable unemployment are much weaker than they might first appear, with much of the growth coming from low-pay employers and an increasingly gig work-based economy. That's why 48% of all West Virginia households live paycheck to paycheck, according to a study by United for Alice, while whole communities disappear or fall into total despair all across the West Virginia countryside, highlighting this growing problem where the vast majority of the state is in terrible decline, while a handful of prosperous counties artificially make statewide numbers look slightly better. So the pain felt in places like McDowell County, once thought to have a bright future because of coal, is somehow even worse than the data suggests, and it isn't just McDowell either. Mingo, Webster, and Clay have suffered similar fates. While the median age there is fast rising, as young families dwindle or flee for better opportunities, with West Virginia ranking last in the nation for its declining population and next to last in business growth, while nearly a third of the state's children report living in homes where they lack basic necessities, as West Virginia has become the only state with fewer residents today than it had 70 years ago. That's why West Virginia lost representation in Congress and is losing potential for federal funding, as both are based on population, a real problem for a state where federal dollars account for 16% of all income. Then there's this other West Virginia, and we can talk about the state's capital in Charleston or Huntington, its two biggest cities with about 45,000 residents each, but both are in decline and struggling much like the rest of the state, while a few thriving panhandle counties in northeastern West Virginia are consistently growing thanks to the benefits of being part of Metro Washington, D.C., an area with few billionaires, but while having the nation's largest and wealthiest upper middle class, with Jefferson and Berkeley having average home prices of $400,000 and $330,000 respectively, and being safe, clean, active communities. Bringing it all together. It started with West Virginia being captured by a single industry, but as coal declined, the industry maintained a level of influence unheard of for its limited and decaying impact. There are several reasons for that, for coal's powerful standing in a state where it employs so few people. But coal is only the half of it, as poor infrastructure, healthcare scarcity, and widespread poverty have resulted in an environment where mining operations are increasingly scarce, new businesses are hesitant to move in, and regular folks are increasingly frustrated. While West Virginia's problematic geography has made advanced infrastructure development and modern city building uniquely difficult and expensive, leading to a stagnant economy that offers little in the way of opportunity, a depleted labor pipeline, and limited business resources.
For all the coal that has came out of our mountains, and the whole country and half of the world got electricity because of my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my uncles, my cousins, we really got breadcrumbs.